Yes, the chemicals of life lesson, and tonight we talk about the inorganic chemicals of life in details. Yes, remember you said the inorganic chemicals of life are those chemicals of life which do not contain carbon in their composition. Now, in this topic, we're going to talk about uh, water. Then we talk about the physical properties of water. We talk about the functions of water, the biological functions. We talk about the acids. We talk about bases. We talk about buffers. We talk about biological functions of acids, bases, and buffers. Then lastly, we should be talking about the salts or mineral salts. Let's start over. Water. Water Water is an oxide of hydrogen. The oxide of hydrogen is called water, and water derives its importance from its chemical nature. When we talk about the chemical nature of water, a water molecule consists of two hydrogen molecules and one oxygen molecule. Thus, it's the formula H2O, as you can see. The oxygen atom is more electronegative than the hydrogen atom. And this means that the oxygen atom tends to attract the hydrogen atom towards itself. This makes the oxygen atom in water to be partially negative and the hydrogen atom becomes partially positive. That is why water is said to be a polar molecule. We go straight to the properties of water. Properties of water they are of a biological importance. The polarity of water. Water is polar, as you say, that is comprised of partially positive hydrogen atom and partially negative oxygen atom. You get. So the next property is water is colorless and transparent. Thus, it can be used by animals for easy visibility. Yes, we talk about water has low viscosity. Viscosity means that water flows with less drag force, making it suitable as a transport medium in vascular systems of plants and animals. You get the vascular systems. We talk about uh, water having it is incompressible. You can't compress water. Yeah, water is incompressible. Thus, it provides support to hydrostatic skeleton and herbaceous systems. Hydrostatic skeleton is in animals and herbaceous systems is in plants. When we talk about it is a neutral solvent. Water doesn't have a certain pH. It is not acidic and it is not acidic and it's not it doesn't have basic or alkali properties. So it is a neutral solvent. So this means that neutrality means that water doesn't alter the pH of cellular components and environment organisms. We talk about the water having weak attraction for each other. Because when you look at when you draw the structure of water, the two hydrogen atoms are displaced, they are placed far away from each other at an angle of 105 degrees. So that makes water to have weak attraction for each other due to that angle between the partially positive hydrogen atoms. We have it is a universal solvent because it can dissolve more than one substances when you compare it into any other liquid. It can dissolve substances like ionic substances such as salts and non-ionic substances like sugar. So it can dissolve anything. So it makes it to be a universal solvent. We talk about high specific heat capacity. It has high SHC. Specific heat capacity is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water through a Kelvin. A Kelvin is the measure of that temperature. You measure it into Kelvin, not degrees Celsius. So water has a high specific heat capacity, meaning a lot of energy is used to raise its temperature as it breaks down hydrogen atoms which hold the water molecules together. You get. So we talk about the high latent heat of vaporization. Uh, Water requires a relatively high amount of heat energy to break the forces of attraction between the water molecules to convert it to vapor. So that is the amount of heat required to vaporize the water into steam. You get. So it requires relatively high amount of heat to break the forces of attraction between the water molecules over in the water molecules. So we talk about the high latent heat of fusion. Water has high latent heat of fusion, therefore much heat must be removed before freezing occurs. And this helps to keep the body fluids constant even when the surrounding environment temperature is very low. So that high latent heat of fusion of water can help to keep the heat to keep the heat of the fluids, the body fluids constant, even when the environmental temperatures are too low. We talk about high surface tension. Water has a high surface tension due to the fact that molecules are oriented in such a way that most hydrogen atoms bond points inwards towards other molecules. In this way, many animals are able uh, to settle on water or skate over it. So that is high surface tension. Like you can see mosquitoes, they can um, set on water, on stagnant water, because water has high surface tension. We talk about the high cohesion forces. High cohesion forces are forces uh, of attraction between molecules of a substance of the same kind. Water has those strong cohesion forces between its molecules, allowing the molecules to stick together in a continuous column without breaking. Okay, and this temperature, and this property is important during the transportation of water in the xylem and blood in the blood vessels. That high cohesion forces help to keep the water molecule sticking together without separating. Yeah. So those are the physical properties of water, as you've seen. We got to we got to we move straight to functions of water as a chemical of life. So these are the biological function of water. Water, it is a medium for chemical reactions and transport into the body. Okay. Water, it is for it gives support to hydrostatic skeleton and organisms and herbaceous stems in plants, as we said earlier. Water is useful in temperature regulation. Okay, it is useful in temperature regulation by cooling the body. Water enables fruits and seeds dispersal. As you can see, running water can make the seeds to move from one place to another. That is seeds and fruits and seeds dispersal. Hence, allowing localization, allowing plants to move from one place to another to go and grow from other bigger areas. So we go to medium. It is a medium for function and enabling swimming of the garments. It enables swimming of the garments, the sexual garments, especially in lower plants such as the bryophytes. Bryophytes are like Moses and liverworts. So these can use water as a medium for fertilization. Water is also enables germination to take place, as it is one of the necessary requirements for germination to take place. Water, we go to, yeah, so those are the biological processes of water. We go to acids. What now? An acid is a compound or substance which, when dissociates in water, liberates hydrogen ions as the only positively charged ions. As you can see, HCl, the hydrochloric acid, dissociates completely to give hydrogen ions and chlorine ions. The hydrogen ions are the only positively charged ions. Acids are of two types. We have strong and weak acids. The strong acids include hydrochloric acid, we have nitric acid, we have brominian acid, we have sulfuric acid, and so many others. And weak acids, we have the carbonic acid, we have acids of the Calabrese cycle. Calabrese cycle is that cycle of respiration. We have pyrrolic, lactic, oxalic, and citric acids. So those are the acids. The acidity of a solution is therefore the measure of hydrogen ion concentration in that solution. Yes, very nice. So we move to bases. Well, a base is a water-soluble compound with a bitter taste that can turn red litmus paper to blue and can react with an acid to form a salt and water. Well, for you to differentiate between an acid and a base, when a base reacts with an acid, it forms water and a salt. Okay, we're going to see the definition of a salt in the notes to come. A base can release hydroxide or hydroxyl ions in a solution. So it releases the hydroxyl ion as the only negatively charged ions. A base can neutralize an acid by reacting with the hydrogen ions in the acid. For example, when you have potassium hydroxide, sodium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide, and so many others. Those are the bases we are talking about. We go to buffers. A buffer is a solution that resists change in the pH upon the addition of small amount of acid or basic components. A buffer maintains a constant pH over a given range by neutralizing the effects of hydrogen ions. So it keeps, you can say a buffer is a solution or a substance that can keep or maintain a constant pH of a solution. So the pH it neither changes to alkali or acidic nature. So buffers can keep the pH constant by either taking up protons which are released during reactions or by releasing protons which are consumed by the reactions. Remember, protons are positively charged molecules. Most buffers are mixtures of weak acids or weak bases with their salts. So when you mix a weak acid with a weak salt, you can form a buffer or a buffer, anything you can call it. We go to examples of buffers. Buffers, we have acetic acid. When you react acetic acid with sodium acetate, you can form a buffer. When you react ammonium hydroxide with ammonium chloride, you form a buffer. When you react citric acid with sodium citrate, you form a buffer. When you react carbonic acid with bicarbonate ions, you form a buffer. So those can be the examples of buffer. So we determine and maintain the proper pH for which enzymes can work best. Remember, enzymes work at a specific pH. So acids, bases, and buffers can help to determine and maintain the proper pH for which enzymes can work best. They balance the pH levels in the body, levels in the body within limits for proper functioning of the body cells and tissues. Hydraulic acid is the stomach. In the stomach, helps in the digestion of food by breaking it down. Remember, for food to be digested, it needs to be changed into an acidic nature. So they also aid in tissue repair and protein synthesis. Some acids. Buffers help to resist change in the pH of the body substances by removing hydroxyl I mean by moving hydrogen ions and hydroxyl ions, thus maintaining constant conditions for both cells or tissues to function properly. Buffers also suppress hydrogen concentrations in body fluids like the blood. So those are the biological importances of acids, bases, and buffers, as you've seen. We have we go to salts. Well, salts. A salt is a substance formed when an acid reacts with a base. When you react an acid with a base, you form a salt and an acid. I mean, when you react an acid with a base, you form a salt and water, and that should be a neutralization reaction. Biologically, salts are inorganic components that need to be ingested or absorbed by the body of living organisms for a healthy body growth and it is a compound comprised of a metal element and a non-metal element, for example, sodium chloride, the NaCl. Remember, sodium is a metal and chloride is a non-metal. Why? You base on their charges. Sodium is a cation, chlorine is a anion. So we have they are essential to the body of an organism as they make 4% of the total body mass. So you need to be having salts in your body. We are going to see the importances of these salts. Okay, we have they are stored in body fluids like the blood, hemoglobin, and in bones. Remember, the blood hemoglobin has iron, so that mineral salt called iron, it is in the blood hemoglobin, and in bones you can form or you can find their classification of mineral salts. These mineral salts or elements, they are classified into two. We have macro elements, and these macro elements are the elements which are needed in larger quantities into the body. For example, we have sodium, calcium, potassium, magnesium, chlorine, sulfur, and phosphate or phosphorus, and so many others. We have the micro elements or mineral salts. They are required in smaller quantities or amounts into the body. We have iron, we have fluorine, we have zinc, we have copper, we have cobalt, we have iodine, and we have chromium. There are too many, but those are the basic one we can take about. We talk about the general functions of salts, mineral salts, biological. So we have they are constituents of various body components. I mean compounds like proteins. In proteins, you can find their salt. Yeah, we have ATP. We find their phosphates. We have hormones. There are so many body compounds in which you can find, yeah, such like iodine is a component of thyroxine hormone. We have calcium helps in body and teeth formation. We have iron is a component of hemoglobin, as we said earlier. We have so this some of these mineral salts are metabolic activators. We shall see those earlier. They help to determine the iron concentration of cells. They also determine and keep constant the osmotic pressure and water potential of cells. So those are the notes. We meet in the next video. Thank you so